Here in the Oasis Centre with Steve, the Facilities Manager, Steve Gardner here in Oasis, Cardiff. Just to mention, if anybody has any questions, we will take some, we have a short Q&A time at the end, but please feel free to post the question in the chat if you have a burning question, or wait till the end and we'll do the usual, put your hand up and we'll answer any questions people might have. So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about Oasis Cardiff, maybe a little bit about the background to the organisation, and maybe a little bit about the building as well?
Sure. So Oasis is a charity that works specifically, works specifically with refugees and asylum seekers. We're based in the Splot area of Cardiff, and we've been in existence since 2008. We've currently been based in the building we're now in since 2014. We actually were renting and leasing the property from 2014 until 2023. The Methodist Church then approached us 2021, 2022, just after COVID, to say that they were looking to sell the property and they wanted to sell it to us. So we were privileged enough to be able to secure funding in order to buy the property, and we actually completed the purchase on 3rd of July 2023. Yeah,
thank you. And what was the building like when you moved in? I mean, it looks like an old chapel, it's an old Methodist chapel.
It is.
And what sort of state was it in?
Sure.
And so on.
Yeah, so when we moved in 2014, we're basically in an old Methodist church that was built, I think it was around 1890, and it had been used by the Methodists for a very long time, but when we actually came to site, there was no active church congregation in the building, so we leased it lock, stock and barrel, and inherited all the kind of little intricacies that came with it. We signed a rental lease and basically took on making improvements to the building, even if it was just from a kind of visual kind of improvement. We wanted to make the space as nice and as welcoming and as warm and as comfortable as possible for the people that we work with. We deal with some very vulnerable people that have fled some very difficult situations, and for a lot of our guys, they consider this like their second home. So we want to make it warm, inviting and comfortable for them when they visit. It has its challenges. A lot of this stuff comes down to time and money, of which we have no control over a lot of the time being a charity, but we do what we can with what we've got.
Yeah, fantastic. And so what you inherited essentially was an old church and chapel building.
Correct.
It had the heating system in place. It didn't have a heating system.
Sure, absolutely. So when we first moved in 2014, half of the building was heated with a very old commercial boiler, which ran through old radiators, a mixture of kind of newer radiators, but also old iron ones, a lot of old iron pipe work, and some of the parts of the facility did have heating that worked, and it worked very well, but there were a number of spaces that had no heating at all, or where heating was provided, it was through like portable electric heaters and things like that. So it was a very expensive way of heating space and very inefficient.
And so when you started off on this journey, what was sort of some of the first steps you did to get you going?
Sure. So my history with Oasis is that I actually was a trustee before actually coming to work for Oasis. I was approached to come and work for the Oasis and run the facility during COVID. So I actually started working in August 2020 during the kind of height of COVID, when there were certain lockdowns and things happening. And we were just kind of trying to mitigate how to operate during that difficult time, which I'm sure we will remember. But when I first started, one of the first things that I wanted to look at, and we looked at funding to do, was to improve heating in those areas where there was no heating or electric portable heating. So we applied for some funding through WCVA. We're quite close to a local landfill, so we could apply for like a landfill grant, landfill funding, because of our location. And that money came through WCVA, and we were successful in securing that funding towards the end of 2020, start of 2021. That allowed us to install a boiler and radiators and control systems in areas where there were none in the building, just to make it a warmer, more comfortable space, and reduce our running costs as well, because electricity was starting to go through the roof with the global increase.
Indeed. And then I believe at one point you also got an again energy report. Did that sort of help in terms of shaping what you could do to the building?
Yeah, it certainly did. So yeah, we I approached Egin in, I think it was either 2021, 2022. Like I say, I started my role here at the end of 2020, and I wanted to know what I was inheriting. So we approached Egin about getting an energy audit, an energy report to know exactly what the state of the building was. We were successful in that application, and Peter Draper came to site and did our energy report. I think it was in 2022. But yeah, he was then able to supply us with that information of what is the state of the building, where could we take it, what are the kind of opportunities and options that would be available to us.
Brilliant. One of the first things you did was to look at solar panels. I think we've got a short video clip which we recorded earlier this morning. So maybe we can play back that video clip and we can just discuss what we can see in that video. We can see in this photo sort of before and after really of your roof and putting solar panels. So I believe that you put the solar panels on as part of a bigger project really to redo the roofs in the building as well.
Yeah, so as I've said previously, we're renting the building from the Methodist Church for a number of years since 2014, and then we had the opportunity to purchase the building, which we completed in July 2023, sorry. And then about a month after we'd actually completed the purchase, we applied for a pot of money through shared prosperity funding in order to replace all of the roofs, upgrade the insulation to the property, and install solar panels and batteries to generate and store energy.
You've got a fairly large roof here. You've got 60 panels on here. I can see some space over here and maybe the other side where there's more space.
Sure.
Could you potentially add more solar panels in the future? And is that something you've been considering?
It's something we've been considering. We're obviously currently limited by the fact that we don't have a three-phase electrical supply. It's conversations that I need to have with the National Grid about the potential for a three-phase electrical supply to the building. Both the solar array and the batteries are limited by the capacity of the grid being able to supply and take off electricity through the supplied cabling. But yeah, it's definitely something we've considered. We've had conversations with our solar installers, and actually there's capacity for putting more panels below the Velux windows on this main hall roof here. So you could put another line across the bottom there. And again, as you've seen, because this is kind of southwest facing this sloping roof above our entrance, you could put a load of panels up there as well. In and around the Velux windows that are there. So it's something definitely we would be interested in doing, but it's the limitations of our electrical supply that stop us from doing that currently. And then obviously, if we were to get to that point, we would be looking at things like car charging points, that kind of thing, because that's the way it's going to go and it's the way we'd like it to go. We currently own a diesel minibus. It'd be wonderful one day to replace that for an electric minibus if it were ever feasible. But yeah, I think the only way that would be possible would be to have more capacity. We're limited by the current system and that kind of thing.
And then these are obviously store the solar that you generate in batteries. And then you can work off the batteries overnight. Maybe we can see the video clip for the batteries as well.
These batteries?
Thank you, Steve.
Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit about these batteries?
Yes, so these batteries were installed as part of some funding work that we got through Shared Prosperity Fund back in 2024, start of 2025. We applied for funding to replace all of the roofs, upgrade the insulation to the property, and to install solar and batteries. So these were part of the solar and battery install. We were able to get 60 solar panels installed on both our flat roof and our sloping roof of our main hall, which feeds into these two batteries.
Lovely. And so the idea is, I guess, they fill up with solar during the day, and then when the sun goes down, the building runs off of these batteries overnight. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so what we've seen from the app that's installed on my phone, you can see that the batteries, especially on a sunny day, fill up very quickly. And then, they drain down overnight, supplying electricity to whatever is required overnight. So your fridges, your freezers, your security systems, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Lovely. Which all helps keeps your bills down.
Oh, it dramatically saves us money on our bills. As I said to you prior, back in before we had this install, even during the summer months, I think our most expensive bill was around £2,400. I think that was June 2024. And then after this system went live, our bills literally halved. So we were down to about £1,200 a month. So for us, it's a game changer.
And in terms of capacity for these batteries, what sort of size are they?
So both of the batteries are 13.5 kilowatts each. We've got 2 phases of electrical supply into the building, so 1 battery is on each phase. And yeah, it just works. It just works in the background, does what it's supposed to do. And yeah, the main thing is it saves us money, but also affects the kind of amount of carbon we're reducing on site.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, so the solar and the batteries work together. Solar generates, stores in the battery, works overnight, and yeah, and like you said, they dramatically reduce your bills, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
You've also mentioned that you've potentially got some spare capacity, so you could put more solar panels and bring your bills down even more.
Absolutely.
But you potentially need a 3-phase supply for that.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation I need to have with the National Grid. Prior to the National Grid taking control, I did have conversations with Western Power at the time, but we were looking at a significant cost of between £50,000 and £20,000 at the time.
Indeed.
But the climate has changed, and I need to go back to the National Grid to discuss that because, yeah, currently we're limited by the capacity of what our cabling in and out of the building will take. But definitely, we would like to put in more panels, more battery, another battery bank, and then potentially look at EV charging and things like that, for vehicles.
Yeah, brilliant. So just moving on to your heating system, what's your primary method of heating in the building?
Sure. So now our primary method of heating is gas. We've got 2 gas boilers. When we took on the building from the Methodist Church, we had a very old gas boiler, which it still works. I mean, it's pretty bulletproof. It just runs, but it's old and it's probably not the most efficient. We might look to replace that in the future. But with the funding that I think I previously mentioned from WCVA, we installed a new gas boiler and radiators along a number of rooms around the perimeter of the facility. And then most recently, just earlier this year and at the end of last year, we got some funding from the National Grid to actually upgrade the control gear. So now we've got more zoning control throughout the building, and again, it's all accessible through an app, so we can pre-program heating in various spaces, but also can adapt to the needs as and when required, and up or switch heating on and off. And again, it makes things more efficient, reduces our running costs, but also it's that whole kind of comfort control as well, which is a priority to us for the people we work with.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, many community groups throughout Wales will have a gas boiler, and long term we know we will need to switch to electrified heating of some sort. But I guess it's about making the best use of that gas boiler while we've got it.
Absolutely.
And tell us a little bit about your control system and how that sort of feeds into this and how that helps with your efficiency.
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. So as I say, we got some funding through the National Grid to update our control system. And basically, we've got it's basically a domestic unit created by Honeywell, but we have, because of the size of the building, we have actually two control units, one that runs one end of the building and the one that runs the other. You can access both of them via an app on your phone, and again, they all talk to the localized thermostats on all of the radiators. Again, it's allowed us to have more zoning control in spaces rather than having one large area that's either always heated or not. So yeah, it's that more localized control that is allowed us to heat spaces as and where we need it, and has reduced our running costs, and it's just more efficient. Yeah.
And does that mean you've got an app, or is it always based on panels on the wall?
No, so there's both. So there's basically 2 control panels that you can go into. I can see a slide in front of me. I'm not sure if people can see that slide there or not. But yeah, there's the little Honeywell control unit there, and you can go in and obviously program that locally if you're in the building. Discussed earlier, even if I'm on holiday in the south of France, I can switch the heating on from them, or switch it off to save us some money. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sort of cognizant of the fact that all of this, massive changes in the building all at the same time. But do you have a sense of how that might have helped with your bills or your running costs, or has the control system, what part has that played in the efficiency of the building?
I think because it's been quite recent that we've put the new control gear in. We're yet to have a full season of knowing how it would affect things. But I think in terms of creature comfort, it's made a massive difference. and getting the heat into the spaces where we need it, and not where we don't, and that does affect things, rather than previously us having more larger zoned areas where you could be heating 3 or 4 rooms that actually aren't all in use. So it's that zoned down localized control per space, which definitely I think we will see a saving over time, but I have yet to, like I say, we've not had it for a full season, so it's very difficult to kind of quantify that at the moment. But it's, from our point of view, less complaints about being in cold rooms from staff and people who visit the site. So that fulfills one answer. That's one of the goals,
Brilliant. And another thing that sort of impresses me with what you've done here is, because everything's on an app, you've got the data there, so that if you need to make further changes, you can either show to funders what you've done already, what your current energy use is, or if you want to optimize the system further, you've got the tools to do that.
Absolutely, I mean, we've obviously got, there's an app which controls our heating. There's an app that we can look at in terms of our battery and solar kind of generation. We have another app, which I don't think we've discussed yet, to do with, we have Velux windows. Are we going down that load?
We'll look at that in a second.
But a lot of the kind of things that we've had installed, there is those technology there that you can use apps in order to control things and monitor things and gather data, again, which is helpful when applying for funding, because funders want that information. They want to see that evidence of energy reduction, CO2 reduction, all that kind of stuff. And those apps are definitely there to help with that, because they're monitoring 24/7. So
and you can also, you've had the energy report then, which outlines some of the carbon savings from different measures, and I guess you can check and you can see if if some of the things you've implemented have worked out.
Absolutely, that's right. I mean, the energy audit that was done through the Egging network was crucial, and it came just at the right time for us as well. We had the audit that then allowed us to look at the state of where we were at and where we wanted to go. And then, like I say, about a year or two later, we were in a privileged position to purchase the property from the Methodist Church. And this is now our responsibility, and we want to continue to make improvements to it to benefit everybody.
Fantastic. Can we move on to the next?
People can watch it back.
So just in terms of the insulation measures you've put in this building, you mentioned that you did some work during the roofing renovation. So what sort of insulation measures did you put in?
Sure. So when we applied for the funding and we went out to get contractors to provide quotes, we wanted to look at improving the insulation to the maximum that we could in every space. Unfortunately, we were limited in certain kind of spaces to how much insulation we could put in. So wherever possible, we put in about 75 mil of insulation board, and in other areas it was 50 mil in depth. But again, it was all about helping to make the environment warmer, to keep it warmer for longer, and again to reduce running costs, which again we're still working on the data for that. But it definitely has made a difference to us. We notice it on a day-to-day basis. Not only in the winter, it's less cold, but also in the summer. I mean, the insulation also is a benefit when, this is an old church building. It's badly insulated from day one. It was never a priority. So in the summer months, it can get very hot here as well. So it definitely does help.
So the insulation keeps it warmer in the winter, but also helps keep it slightly cooler in the summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a part of it. Sure.
Brilliant. And then we'll move on to the next slide, where we'll discuss the Velux windows that you've installed on this building.
This is just
So you've put in some Velux windows, but these aren't your sort of ordinary sort of Velux windows. What's special and different about these windows?
Sure. So as part of the roofing upgrade, like I say, the whole project was funded by the Shared Prosperity Fund. We replaced all of the roofing, we upgraded the insulation, and also a number of our rooms already had Velux windows installed, which were aging, not in the greatest condition. They were very old-fashioned in that you used to be able to open them with a bit of string, which had long since perished, so we were never able to open them. So we asked the contractors to install new Velux windows. And the beauty of the Velux windows is that they're upgradable. You can buy bolt-on kits to kind of make them do certain things. So with all the Velux windows that we had replaced in the building, we had automated control gear put into them. Each window has a little solar panel which allows you to basically power them in order to open and close them. And we also had blinds installed in every one of the windows, again, solar power controlled. and again, totally automated. So all of the windows can be controlled either by like push buttons in each of the spaces, but that also links to a little control unit, which again, you then link up to an app, and you are able to program automation for opening and closing of windows. You can set specific times when they open and close, which again helps with energy efficiency, but also helps with things like if it's a very hot day, you can easily expel hot air by just opening the Velux windows, and a bit of cross breeze, and it certainly cools the space down. Again, small detail, but having blinds installed on all of the windows, again, they're automated to close at dusk. That helps to contain heat just a little bit, but it all helps. All of the Velux windows are currently double glazed as well.
Brilliant. So the blinds will help in the winter, keep the heat in,
Correct.
And the opening windows will expel that hot air in the
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the great thing is the Velux windows are quite high up.
They are.
Hot air wants to rise.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely perfect for venting as much hot air as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they work really well, and we've definitely seen the benefit to having them.
Yeah.
Especially on those hot days as well.
Brilliant. And what's interesting to me as well is how all these measures, work together. The solar panel on the batteries obviously help bring your electricity bills down.
Yep.
The control system, it helps a lot with sort of controlling and making optimal use of the gas that you've got in here.
Yeah.
And then again, the insulation and the Velux windows help sort of keep that heat in or get the heat out in the summer. So it's quite nice how all of these different sort of component parts work together. Really.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, they definitely do. I mean, with any of the kind of stuff that we do here, it's just trying to make this space of the building as appealing, as inviting to the people that come through the door that we work with. People come from all over the world here, and we just want them to feel at home and welcome.
Brilliant. What's next? You're sort of on a journey. You've done quite a number of different sort of measures.
Sure.
What's next on the list of to-dos?
So next on the list for us is actually looking at replacing all of our windows. Like I say, we're in an old building. The majority of windows are single glazed in metal frames, so they're very inefficient. And we definitely noticed during the winter months, it gets very cold in those areas where there's those windows. So we are in the process. We've already had quotes put together for replacing the windows for double glazed units, potentially triple glazed units after our conversations earlier today. But again, it comes down to funding and being able to access that money, which is always a challenge. But that's definitely on our next list of to-dos. And then after that, one of the things we would like to do is look at putting in a mezzanine in our main hall. We're already at capacity in a lot of ways with the space that we have available, and we have the potential for putting in a second floor in our main hall, and that's something that we want to investigate further.
Yeah, brilliant. So sort of further changes to the building.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just wanted to sort of quickly touch on how we funded all of this.
Okay.
So was it sort of a number of different grants? Was it like one gigantic grant for maybe the lottery or so on?
Sure.
How did you go about paying for all these different measures?
Sure. Yeah, so all of the work that we've done here has come through grants from various places, and a lot of it is just a question of just chipping away.
Yeah.
So when I first started here in August 2020 during COVID, we secured funding through WCVA to install a boiler, radiators, and we also put in a wet room in order to provide opportunity for our clients to have showers and things like that on site. So that was one pot of money we were successful in getting. When it came to purchasing the building from the Methodist Church, we approached Welsh Government for funding. We also secured some funding through Tudor Trust and Moondance Foundation. That allowed us to purchase the building. So that was 3 pots of funding in order to just do that process alone.
Yeah.
And then, it was literally a month or two later, we approached Shared Prosperity Fund in order to look at the replacement of the roofs, the insulation, the solar and the batteries. The Shared Prosperity Fund, again, provided the majority of the funding for that work, but there was a shortfall in order to be able to do the small hall where we are today. But during the actual work being done, we were able to secure further funding from an organisation called Clothworkers, and they actually provided the funding for us to be able to do the roof, the solar and the Velux windows in this room where we are today. So by the end of 2024, 2025, we were able to do all of the roofs, the solar, the batteries, the valance windows, the insulation. So yeah, so it's tapping into various pots of money as and when. We've been very privileged and very lucky, but you just have to keep chipping away. You know, time and money is something that's always out of our control, but you just look for opportunities and you try. Some you're successful on, some you aren't. Our financial position where we are at the moment is such that there are certain years when we've been able to get funding, but because of that funding, that has tipped us over a certain kind of limit of how much money we have going through our accounts, and funders won't touch us for the following year because we are outside of their grant funding kind of.
You look as if you're high income, but it's because you've been getting grants.
That's right. Yeah, that's the problem. Is absolutely. When it comes for us to have our financial audit done every year, our books can look really healthy, but that's actually a capital funding grant that's gone straight into the building. It's not cash flow. It's not it's not running costs, as it were. But funders do see that as a kind of, well, actually, you've tipped over X amount of money. We're not going to fund you because you've already had too much money. So last year we applied for funding again to do with the windows, and we're unsuccessful. We were looking at match funding, and we were successful with one funder, but not the other, which meant that we lost both. Which is unfortunate. But you just go back to the drawing board and do it again until you're successful.
So keep trying those grants and
absolutely, just keep going, just keep chipping away, and don't just go for big grants. I mean, we've been successful on smaller grants for things. Obviously, when we showed you around the building earlier today, we were lucky to secure funding from Screwfix over a number of years to upgrade our toilets and things like that. And that's smaller pots of money. I think Screwfix was about £5.5 grand. But again, it allowed us to make improvements to the building from the toilets and things like that.
And if you're sort of getting small grants, chipping away at the work, it's sort of proof to a larger grants organisation that you can deliver, right? And
absolutely, they want to see that you're using the money wisely and as agreed, and ticking all those boxes, which you have to do at the end of a funding bid. You have to do feedback and provide them with the evidence that this is what we said we would do with the money you've given to us, and you have to be honourable to your funders. Absolutely.
And in all the measures you've done so far, did you have any sort of like unexpected developments or problems that happened along the way?
Sure. Yeah, so like I say, the biggest pot of funding we secured so far was for the replacement of the roofs and for the installation of the solar, the batteries, and the insulation upgrade. And that process, we had a couple of issues. One of which was we were coming to the completion of a certain section of the roofing area, and the contractors were due to take the scaffolding down, and literally the week before that was due to be taken down, someone decided to nick a chunk of the lid and cause some damage, which we then had to repair and claim on insurance, etc. So we had that. And in another area of the facilities, another unforeseen expense was when the roofers were coming to do the finishing work. There's an area of kind of our roofing area where there's bath stone. The roofers had kind of raised that as an issue towards the end of the project, that they couldn't tie in and sign off on the risk of potential water kind of ingress in that area. So therefore, we then had to go out and get to replace a chunk of unforeseen expense. I mean, again, that alone came to about £6,500. But luckily enough, we had some money left over from the cloth workers fund that was provided for that roofing area, and they were like, "Yeah, fine, use the money. If you've got money left over, please spend it." So some funders are brilliant that if there is a shortfall or if there's money left in the kitty, they are happy for you to tweak it slightly. So so those are two challenges I would say that happened as part of that project.
Fantastic. And just sort of as a last question, really, you've obviously been on a bit of a journey with this yourself, and I've heard on the grapevine that you've signed up to the Energy Champion scheme. So I'm just sort of interested in what you've been up to there and how you're that might help with the work that you're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So last year the opportunity to become an Energy Champion through DTA Wales came about, and I signed up for it and became one. Had training through Peter Draper. So Peter was the guy that actually did our energy audit on site here with their GIN program. And that's been an interesting journey in terms of looking at other people's kind of situations. So since January this year, I've been doing energy audits. I've completed 2 so far. One to a Girl Guides hall in Neath, and another one to a rugby club in Llanelli. And I'm halfway through an audit for a wildlife and farm park just outside of Caerphilly, which is interesting. But it's great to kind of have that opportunity to kind of feed back into the kind of network, because we've definitely benefited from being in it and being part of it ourselves.
So you started off the journey, partly getting the energy survey. You've done some of the measures in there, and now you've sort of essentially been trained up to help other people do similar measures. So you've obviously caught the energy efficiency bug. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think with I've been involved in facilities for most of my working life, and I can see the benefit of it. Not only in terms of financial benefit, but environmental, community, all of those kind of things. These things are important. And again, with the nature of the work we do, there is potential that we will be getting refugees and asylum seekers that will be fleeing because of global warming. It's a fact. It's something that people don't think about, but it's something that we're aware of could be an issue.
Absolutely. And quite a lot of community groups are on a similar journey, right? They want to make their buildings more energy efficient. They might have sort of some of those same motivations as you have in terms of doing that. And it's just what's really impressed me really is that you've taken a very step-by-step approach, where you can find funding, you've implemented different things, you've chipped away at a very large problem here in terms of the size of the building and the state it was in. But you're getting there. You sort of, your bills have come down, your carbon emissions have come down, and you're moving in a positive direction.
Thank you. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's brilliant. That's more or less the end of our presentation. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Steve, or any sort of comments about any of the work that Steve's done here in Oasis Cardiff?
What else is on there? See what's going on.
Sorry, just trying to get the list of participants. I'll start with a question.
Okay, go on
then. You started off with sort of the roof, and obviously the solar panels were parts of that. I'm assuming that was because there was funding available to do that particular piece of work. Is that where you would have started if you had a blank slate, or because obviously making the building watertight is important. But
Sure. I think it probably is actually. Well, it's certainly the replacement of the roof and upgrading the insulation was something that I had in mind as one of the first steps, because as you say, we're in an old church. They're famed for having leaky roofs, and people, churches have roof funds and things like that, don't they? So it was definitely one of the priorities was to make this building watertight. There were areas where there were historic leaking issues that we wanted to tackle. So I think replacing the roofing and the insulation was probably a priority for us. Like I say, the next step is window replacement. But the solar and the batteries were kind of like, at the time, they were the second thought of that kind of process. But actually, after doing the process, they became the priority in terms of the financial saving that was made, and the reduction in CO2 and things like that. As I said to you earlier, the savings we're making on our utility bills annually is the same as employing a member of staff, and that's important to us. We'd rather be putting that money into an individual to help our clients than putting money into gas and electricity. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that is a priority for us for sure.
Absolutely. Matt Thomas asks, he comments that their organisation's on a similar journey to yours.
Sure.
Are you open to people visiting and maybe sort of chatting in a bit more depth with you about some of these measures?
Absolutely. More than welcome. Absolutely. I mean, I'm here Monday to Friday, and more than happy to accept visitors, and to discuss kind of our journey, and hope that it would benefit and help other people for sure. Absolutely. No problem with that at all.
And maybe we could share some contact details at the end as well. Thank you. Did you have any issues with sort of planning or sort of building regulations or anything like that?
Sure. No, we didn't actually. We were very privileged. It was something that we had to be mindful when we purchased the building from the Methodist Church, there were a couple of clauses involved.
Mhm.
So one of the clauses was what's called an overage. So there's a 10-year overage as part of the purchase, which means for 10 years, if we do anything that requires planning permission, once a project, say we had a project where we, I don't know, wanted to build an extension that required planning permission. Once that extension was built, the Methodist Church could claim back a percentage of the value of the property at that time. So we had to be very mindful about what we could and couldn't do without having to give more money away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As part of that process, it's a weird one, and like I say, it was a clause that we had to accept as part of the, the contract with the Methodists. Don't get me wrong; they were very gracious. We were very privileged in that when they approached us to sell the property, they were amazing. They saw the work that we did, they saw the kind of things that we did here, and they were like, "We're not going to put this on the open market. We're going to sell it to you." Yeah. So they were very gracious to us, but because of that, there were clauses in the contract. But yeah, in terms of for this building, for the roof work that we did and everything else, we're not in a listed building, and therefore we didn't need to worry about that kind of thing. We didn't need to worry about planning permission or anything like that at all.
Yeah, brilliant. And the buildings, I think you mentioned from the 1890s. Was there any listing or sort of anything like that?
Nothing that I know of, no. Nothing that came out in terms of land registry or anything like that as part of the purchase. So yeah, as far as we know, it was built in around 1890 something or another. So it's been here a long time. It's been adapted. It's had bits added to it. It's had bits removed over the years. It's changed. And again, in the time that we've been here since 2014, there's not actually been an active church congregation here.
Yeah.
So we've been able to use it kind of lock, stock, and barrel as we've chosen. As we choose to.
Yeah. Thank you. Ruth White, I just wanted to say thank you. I think it's just some of the encouragement and to chip away at the problem.
Yeah,
and I definitely echo that as well. A lot of the successful projects I've seen have taken a large problem and broken it down into smaller chunks.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just look for opportunities. I mean, for us, it's looking at what's out there. It all helps. Some are big grants, some are small grants, but we know the kind of direction we want to get to, and we'll take whatever we can in order to get there. We've had some very big grants, we've had some very small ones, but they all help with the makeup of who we are and what we're doing and where we want to go.
Yeah, fantastic. Chris Potter wants to makes a comment that they're following again a similar path to you, and they're looking at their heating at the moment.
Yeah.
They're unsure if they should stay with gas or if they should look at electrified options. Sure. Is that something that you sort of gave any thoughts to, or do you have any sort of thoughts on that?
It's something that we have looked at. I mean, it was obviously brought up as part of our egg-in energy audit in terms of things like air source heat pumps and things like that. It's something that we need to take seriously. It's something that we might have to move across to eventually. But at the moment, I think the driving factor would be probably to up the capacity of us being able to generate that energy on site in order to, the running costs can be prohibitive with air source heat pumps. And again, I'm not sure how effective they would be in a building of this age and type. It's still a bit leaky and a bit drafty in places. So it's down there. It's definitely part of our journey, and it's further along from the immediate things like replacing windows per se to retain that energy that we are generating. I think that's where we're at the moment. We're in that area of retaining whatever energy we're generating and however we do that and keeping it in the building as much as possible. But it's something that we're aware of. I think what I mentioned to you, the secondary boiler that we had put in back in 2021, that one, I know when it was installed, is like a multiple energy supply thing. So there are options for it to run off of other things than natural gas. Can't tell you what the other options were. I can't remember. I'd have to look at the specs. But the manufacturers themselves are already looking into that as an issue, I think. So I mean, it might well be that we do go into kind of full electrical energy. I mean, and again, in a room like this, actually a better option would probably be our main hall. In our main hall, the heating is provided by gas-powered radiant heat panels. Well, those could easily be switched out for electric heat panels if we wanted to.
I think as well, whenever I've approached a community building, if you look at it how it originally is, the energy demand would be massive, and you'd have to build a second building to fit a heat pump into it. But as you make more and more energy efficiency measures, insulation in the roof, potentially in the walls, add double glazing or triple glazing.
Yeah.
You're bringing that energy use down and down and down.
Yeah.
And at some point, it'll get to a point where it'll work.
Yeah.
You know, maybe with
Yeah.
a heat pump or
For sure.
or infrared panels for some buildings as well.
Yeah.
But in that respect, each building is a little bit unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This building is definitely that. The longer I'm here, the more that I get to know about its quirks and things. But it's a great space, and you know, we love it.
One other thing I'd mention as well, Chris, is the Community Buildings Hub. I don't know if one of the DTA team could just copy and paste the link into the Community Buildings Hub. But there is a section in there on different heating system options and where, you know, some might work for different types of buildings and different occupancy. So you could look at that as well, just for a little bit of extra help as you sort of assess different heating options for your particular building. And I'd also encourage you, if you're a member of the Egin community, if you do have any specific questions about your building, please go into the Community Buildings Hub section of the Egin website, and you can post some questions there, and myself or other community members who've done something similar to what you're looking to do might be able to give you some feedback on what worked for them as well. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, do we have any last questions for Steve? Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for hosting us this morning, Steve, and thanks for the tour of the building. And thank you as well for the amazing work that you guys do here. It's been a pleasure to sort of see, you know, the things that you do and the journey that you're on with your building.
Pleasure. So, thank you very much. Cheers.